Hey, welcome back, PetaPixel viewers. It is Chris Nichols here, and look at this, Sony A1 version 2. Sony has finally updated their flagship camera. We are gonna take a solid look at this. I know you're thinking like, oh, are we just gonna shoot like the decay, the beautiful summer giving way to just death and cold and wasteland? No, we got some really fun stuff planned. Let's get to that.
Hey, it's Mustache Jordan in New York City for reasons that are going to become apparent later in this episode, I swear. But you know what, if you're going to do a video that has fun shoots with like motocross and other stuff that we're doing in New York, you're going to need some really exciting, compelling music. And you're thinking like, oh man, I don't want to license any more songs, it's just a huge pain. But what if you could just do a one-time fee and have lifetime access to a great music library? Well, that's where this offer from our friends at Audiio is really going to come in handy, because you can get a lifetime access to their entire music library with all kinds of different music. Usually it's $500, but with the coupon code you can find in the link in the description below, it's only $199. That is madness. That's a great deal, and I strongly recommend you take them up on it. So if you're looking for great licensed music, stop paying for each song, just get lifetime access from Audiio.
All right, big thanks, Mustache Jordan, for that excellent Audiio ad. So we got a lot planned for this particular A1 version 2 because this is a big deal. This is their flagship camera. So we got some motorsports we're gonna shoot today. We're gonna do some portraits there as well. We're also gonna do some travel with this. And really, I wanna cover how much has changed from the original A1. That's gonna be my approach because, as I mentioned, it's been a long time. Do we have new hardware? What is really improved, and has the role of the camera changed? First thing we'll talk about is handling. Okay, so when it comes to handling, is this a Sony A9 III? Well, yeah. No, but I mean, there's still stuff to talk about, right? I mean, this is a really nice handling body. I like the fact that versus the original A1, we've got a bigger, deeper grip. I like the more modern controls, the customizability of the camera, the autofocusing joystick. Everything feels really good. I mean, the A9 III is designed to be a flagship body, and this absolutely benefits from that design. The original A1 also did actually have Sony's more modern menu system. It got past the really horrible menus that everybody hated, but this has the latest iteration of the menu. I like that we have the home screen and stuff like that. So this is going to be Sony's best handling body so far. We also get all the connectivity that you expect out of a flagship camera. So we get the mic jack, the headphone jack, the Ethernet port, which is really interesting, PC sync port, full-size HDMI, we got a charging port. I mean, this is actually designed to really handle any sort of professional situation well. We also have the same Wi-Fi connectivity, but the A1, although a much older body, actually to its credit, had a lot of these exact same features. And the layout overall does feel very similar. I do like the fact that we now have the boost button option here for the custom button. That's something we're going to talk about that the A9 III debuted, but the original A1 handled really nicely. This just refines things a little bit further. And then here on the side of the camera, we have the exact same setup for media that we had on the A1. We've got dual CF Express Type A slots here. They've got really fast throughput and they clear the buffer insanely quick, but they can also double as SD card slots. So again, a really nice setup, everything rugged, weather sealed, same Z-type battery. I mean, other than refinements, it's effectively a similar experience. Okay, so far it doesn't sound like we have much difference, but where we do actually have substantial hardware improvement is when it comes to displays. So first off, the back panel. This is raising the resolution of the back panel to over 2 million dots from the original 1.44 million dots. More importantly, it's brighter, and also it has the excellent 4-axis articulation, which we really think is probably the best setup we've seen on a camera so far. The original A1 just had the vertical tilt, so this is gonna be much more useful, not only for photographers, but also for videographers. Now this has a beautiful EVF, the same 9.44 million dots of resolution. So one area where the Sony A1 original starts to show its age is in its lack of advanced capture modes. And this is where you can stack multiple images or pre-buffer images. So the original A1 can stack images to create a 200 megapixel file using Sony's Imaging Edge software. It was always a convoluted process. And of course, the new camera can do the exact same thing. But the new A1 goes above and beyond. It gives us a pre-buffered, pre-capture mode, really handy for sports and action. Also, it does have some extra features like noise reduction image stacking. This is something we saw in the A9 III, as well as the ability to do focus stacking. Now, this is still pre-production, so we can't really show you that, but we've seen this on cameras like the A9 III or other cameras like the Sony a7R5, and it does work really well, again, using Imaging Edge software. Okay, so another meaningful hardware change that we have on the new camera is a better IBIS unit. I mean, this is something we're seeing on a lot of the other advanced Sony bodies. So this has Sony's latest IBIS unit where they're saying you get about 8.5 stops of stabilization in the center and more like 7 stops to the peripherals. Let's just average that out to like 7.5, 8 stops of IBIS. That's substantially more than the original 5.5 stops that we saw in the original A1. And that makes sense because so much time has gone by. This does make the camera very stable. It's very easy to shoot at slow shutter speeds. Okay, so interestingly enough, this second version of the Sony A1 has the exact same 50 megapixel sensor that we saw in the original Sony A1. That's not a bad thing because this is an amazing sensor. It was way ahead of its time. I mean, first off, we're getting competitive readout speeds to the Nikon Z8, Z9, faster than the R5 Mark II, and this is actually still giving us 5 more megapixels. I mean, that's pretty impressive. As well, this has the most advanced mechanical shutter we've ever seen in a camera. Now, that mechanical shutter can shoot about 10 frames per second, but more importantly, it has an insanely fast 400th of a second mechanical flash sync speed if you're shooting full frame. You can even go 1/500th of a second if you're okay with an APS-C crop. Now, the electronic shutter in this camera has a readout speed of 2/40th of a second. I mean, that's very fast. That gives us a maximum flash sync speed of 200th of a second. We often wondered on the original A1, why did they even put such an advanced mechanical shutter into a camera that doesn't really even need a mechanical shutter? But that flash sync speed, that might be one situation, that 400th of a second where I might want to use the mechanical shutter. Otherwise, though, the electronic shutter here has minimum rolling shutter issues, very fast burst rates, and absolutely puts it into a very competitive place against a lot of the more modern flagship cameras today. Now, Sony's always been famous for having fantastic autofocus with their real-time tracking and their subject detections, and the original Sony A1 was a big part of that reputation, but things have come a long way, and happily, we now have a lot of those improvements. So first off, this has the AI processing chip that we've seen in more modern cameras like the A7R5 and the A9 III, and what this AI processing chip does is just more intelligently detect subjects, detect parts of their body, and then track those specifically. We also have much better autofocusing algorithms now from the modern cameras. So this opens up things that go beyond just human eye, face detect, and animal detect. But this now also has insect detect, which has worked really well, as well as the automobiles. So you got planes, and you got your motor vehicles and trains and that kind of stuff. So we're going to see how that's going to play out when we get to the track. Another interesting first here for the A1 II is that this is the first one to have an automatic setting for subject detection where the camera can decide what it thinks is best, very much like what Nikon does. So we have a fast reading sensor and we have all the same autofocusing algorithms that we've seen in the A9 III. Theoretically, we should get very similar performance, although this isn't a global shutter camera, but I'm expecting very good things out of it. Let's go test it out at the track now. All right, so we're here at the Wild Rose Motocross track. We're joined by Spenser Wilton. Spenser, you're a full-time racer. You should definitely check out his stuff on Instagram and his YouTube channel as well. He's doing a lot of content out there, but we really appreciate you helping us out today. Now, of course, we're at a motocross track. There's lots of racers out here, so you're going to hear a lot of noise. Although Spenser has done us the courtesy of bringing us his electric bike, which is, well, at least very YouTube friendly. So Spenser's coming off the jump and he's going into a dip, and then when he comes up for this shot, I can't see him until right at the crest of the jump. So it's a good test. The A1 II seems to be picking him up really quickly and locking on. Okay, so we got some portraits here with the flash shooting Spenser, and we're getting the same results that we got on the original Sony A1. So we know that you can get 400th of a second as a maximum flash sync if you're using a TTL transmitter. We know that. What I wanted to test was to see if they've changed anything when it comes to a manual flash. And unfortunately, we are getting the exact same result, which means that if you're using a flash like this Westcott FJ400 in manual mode, you're only going to get up to about 250th of a second flash sync. That's not bad, but if you really want that 400th, you got to go TTL. Okay, so let's talk about burst rates here on this camera. The electronic shutter does unlock some very fast burst rates, much like we would see on something like the Canon R5 Mark II or the Nikon Z8 and Z9. So this can shoot up to 30 frames per second, blackout free, autofocus on, in RAW, but only if you're using a lossy compressed mode. Just like the original A1, if you want to shoot a lossless compressed or uncompressed RAW file, you're down to 20 frames per second. Again, this puts it on par with cameras like the Nikon Z8, Z9. This is certainly going to be a fast camera if you need it to be. Okay, so we had a great time. Thank you, Spencer, so much. I really appreciate your help. That was great. And definitely check out his stuff. I think we got some really good shots, but we have another very interesting location as well. So let's go to Jordan and talk about video, and then there's more to come after that.
All right, Jordan here to talk about using the Sony A1 II for video recording, and it's using a very similar sensor. I wasn't expecting a lot of changes here, but you've got to remember the A1 did come out quite a while ago, and Sony's been making massive updates to the design of their bodies, their interfaces for video shooters over the last few years. So let's talk about what's new and what is oddly still missing. Okay, so when the A1 first came out, I was very impressed by its slightly oversampled full-width 8K video recording. I mean, it is extremely detailed. Let's just like crop in for a little while and focus on the mustache to remind you that I am still doing my Movember, and the link is in the description below if you want to support men's health. Anyways, back to the video recording on this. Outstanding 8K recording, but oddly enough, if you switched over to any of the 4K modes, they were actually subsampled. So if you wanted a 4K video in the best resolution, you would actually want to record 8K, downsample it in post, as opposed to use the 4K record modes. I really hoped with some processor improvements that we would be able to shoot a more detailed, less noisy 4K image, but unfortunately that is still not the case on this. And detail on that is fine, it's just nothing like what we're seeing with a Canon R5 Mark II or a Nikon Z8, Z9. Now it is able to record 4K up to 120 frames per second with a small 1.1 crop. Oh, I almost forgot, it is possible to get oversampled 4K recording, but only if you go to the APS-C crop mode, and there you'll get oversampled recording up to 60 frames per second, but that's not why you're buying a very expensive flagship camera like this. But Sony have made some real usability improvements over the last few years, and those are all carried forward. We get their really nice quick menu with fast access to a lot of commonly used video functionality. We get 48th and 96th of a second shutter speed, so you can get a perfect 180-degree shutter when you're shooting. And most importantly for me, this has a fully articulating flip screen with tilt functionality as well. It's my favorite LCD design, and I'm thrilled that it was carried over to this camera. Now, stabilization is something that's also been updated to the rated 8.5 stops like Chris was talking about, and I find it's just more effective for photography. Like, yes, this is better stabilization than what we saw in the A1, and it does include the stabilization metadata, so you can apply further post-correction using Catalyst Browse, but honestly I would still say Sony's video stabilization is a little behind, especially what we're seeing in Panasonic's L series. Now, one other thing that has really changed since the A1 came out is Sony has started including their AI chip in the processors of a lot of their cameras, like the A7R5, A6700, A9 III. And it does make a big difference to video autofocus performance. I just find it's consistently a whole lot stickier, and now we've got a nice system where you can program a button to initiate tracking, making it a lot easier to record video using the electronic viewfinder. Now, just shooting around on a bear in Alberta isn't a great test, so I think we should just jump in a plane, head off to New York, and go shoot some football.
Okay guys, so clearly we're not in Calgary anymore. We're in Jersey at the MetLife Stadium to catch a Jets-Colts game. I apologize for the noise, that's why I'm yelling. So, of course, full disclosure, Sony has flown us out here to have this very cool opportunity to shoot football from the sidelines. But that's why, of course, we always want to do our own testing in Calgary before that. You know, we're not going to be swayed by this. We're still going to give our honest opinions, but it's a great opportunity to shoot. I've never done it before. Now, also, according to NFL video rules, Jordan actually can't shoot any video of the game or the players. I can take stills, so he's not going to get his video autofocusing test. We can't shoot through the viewfinder of the camera either, but I'm the main event for Jordan. I'm his favorite sport. He loves shooting me, so, you know, we got a lot of tests with motocross and stuff. I think we still have some good stuff to say. So, let's go down there and get to it. Okay, so it was actually a ton of fun to be at the sidelines shooting there. Very cool access, never done that before, so that was really neat. And it did give me an opportunity to test this camera in a very difficult situation. I mean, motocross we had set up, but that's one person, you know where they're gonna be. The camera does a great job tracking them. Here, the challenge I really find is you got so many people on the field, lots of eyes for the camera to pick up on. So I was really using single point, real-time tracking and choosing the player that I want to track. And for the most part, the A1 II did a very good job. So hit rate with fast movement, no problem. It tracks it beautifully. It's really more just if it goes on to a player you didn't initially want, you want to grab onto somebody again, you just got to make that adjustment. And that's not really the camera's fault. So I would say the autofocusing experience here, fantastic. Even with that 400-2.8 and the long telephoto range with such shallow depth of field, I think it did a really good job. So some other thoughts I had shooting action sports here. So the viewfinder, there's basically a very similar setup to what we had before. It'll shoot 120 frames per second, which is great because it gives you that fast refresh rate for tracking moving subjects, for staying on top of the action. And then you can go to 240 frames per second if you feel you need it. I personally didn't, and you do absolutely see a loss of resolution when shooting at 240 frames per second. Now, at 120, we want to check with Sony just to see if there was a drop in resolution. And the guys in the technical department are saying there is a slight drop in resolution shooting 120 frames per second. If there is, I didn't really see it or notice it, to be honest. So I happily would shoot 120 frames per second. It was fine. So I did also talk about, after 4 years, we haven't really seen burst rates change. It's the same as original A1. And a lot of cameras are getting faster. The Canon R1, for example, pushing 40 frames per second while shooting RAW is impressive. But remember, that is at 24 megapixels. Fact of the matter is, the original A1 was already really fast. It hasn't improved, but 30 frames per second with lossy compressed RAWs, I can still push those files, I can still get good image quality, bring down highlights, push up shadows very happily. And frankly, out there today, I was shooting 20 frames per second. Plenty of speed, I'm still getting the shot, I don't feel like I'm missing the action, and then I'm getting full quality RAWs to play with. Now, on the topic of shooting RAW photos, I mean, I am shooting RAWs, but this is still pre-production, so we don't have RAW support to open up the RAW files, and that's something we're absolutely going to want to test when we can finally do that, maybe with a roundup video. But this is what I will say. It is the same sensor as the A1. Image quality is effectively the same, but there was a lot of talk of, well, there's better noise reduction, there's better mid to high ISO performance in the A1 II versus the A1. But of course that turns out to just be in the JPEGs. I mean, just like a lot of the other modern Sony bodies, this can apply advanced noise reduction to your JPEGs, and it's effective and it's good, but it is not happening with the RAWs. We're not actually getting any difference in performance from the original A1, and that's what we expected. So as we wrap things up, again, this is not a full review. This is still an initial look, but I'd be honest, there aren't that many surprises when it comes to this new A1 II. So the first thoughts that I have here is just, I think we have to appreciate how good the A1 was when it first came out, even considering that it's 4 years old. I mean, it was already a very advanced camera with a great mechanical shutter, a beautiful sensor, and decent body design with fast focusing. Yes, we've got the new body from the A9 III, we've got the new menus, we've got the better autofocusing algorithms, and those are all nice improvements. The better IBIS, that's fantastic. But yeah, there aren't really a lot of surprises with this camera. A9 III body, A1 sensor and gut, so where does this fit in the lineup? Well, certainly the A9 III is still going to be a better, dedicated, and specialized sports and action camera as far as getting you those insane burst speeds, incredibly fast readout, really quick autofocus because of how many calculations it can make. But the A1 II makes a ton of sense if you want a more general purpose flagship camera, and it is insanely versatile. I mean, we're getting great focusing. I had no issues with this today. It's still got very fast bursts, and you do get that more versatile 50 megapixels, which opens this up for studio work, portrait work, landscape, anything where you might want to do larger prints or more cropping. Now, as a video hybrid camera, it's kind of the same story. I mean, we do have some improvements, but they're largely quality of life improvements. The image quality is the same, but we're getting now things like the ability to use custom LUTs, the fact that we have this better articulating back panel, the improved IBIS helps for video as well. I mean, things like that really do bring it home. And so again, the final thought that I want to leave you with is this camera is absolutely a really nice camera to use, still absolutely a very expensive camera to use, and that's largely because the original A1 was already so good. This isn't giving us a quantum leap over cameras like the Nikon Z8 or the Canon R5 Mark II, but it does make it competitive, and that's why we're absolutely going to test those cameras against each other in the future. Thanks for joining us, guys. Leave your comments below. Let us know if you have any questions. We always appreciate the feedback. Do check out the PetaPixel podcast as well. You can listen to it on this channel or all your favorite podcasting apps. We'd appreciate that as well. And you know what? Check out our membership on PetaPixel.com. This way you're not going to get any ads. We've got lots of cool benefits that come up for members as well. It's definitely a nice way to support us. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you soon with more on PetaPixel.